Session 5. I don't know if I could say it's our last session, but yeah, somewhere there. We're nearing the end of our journey in this room. So we welcome to Session 5. Session 5 under the theme Youth, Gender, and Entrepreneurship in Sustainable Energy, Empowering Today and Tomorrow's Leaders. I think it's very important, it's pivotal for us to wonder, what does the future hold for this space that we're trying to cultivate? So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, to come and moderate and run this session is Mr. Kaho Rabasoma. He is a lecturer in thermofluids and energy engineering at the University of Botswana. He also serves as a training coordinator at Soul Train Plus project in Botswana. He holds a master's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Botswana and sustainable energy and environment from Cardiff University in the United Kingdom. Kaho's areas of research and expertise are renewable energy, energy efficiency, and many other related topics within the energy sustainability space. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly give a warm round of applause for my moderator.
Thank you very much, Mudiri, and welcome. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll stand on the protocol that Mudiri has already established. I'm very honored, very proud to chair this session on youth, gender, entrepreneurship, and sustainable energy. I feel also very privileged as a youth, even though my youth days are fast approaching an end, to have a front row seat on a discussion that should provide solutions for me and other youth and women and disadvantaged people. So, ka Setswana go etogotwe leina le amarele lo. My surname being Rabasoma, I feel that banthomile. The organizers have indeed hooked me up, and I thank them graciously for that. We recognize that energy sustainability is an important topic for discussions. We have had many fruitful discussions, impactful deliberations throughout this Sadc Sustainable Energy Week. That is our recognition of the importance of these topics of sustainability. But we also have highlighted the need for a greater involvement of young people, of women towards this sustainable energy transition. On top of this, we also need to support small, medium enterprises, startups. We need to support them to play a role in accelerating a sustainable energy transition. The purpose of this afternoon session, this very short 2-hour session, is to have open discussions, to share ideas on how to empower the youth, how to promote gender equity, how to support entrepreneurs to participate in a just and sustainable energy transition. The importance of this session is highlighted by the fact that it is co-organized by all the partners within this Sadc Sustainable Energy Week. These partners include Soul Train, IRENA, UNIDO, GenSec, GWNet. So all these partners came together to make sure that we have this session to underscore the importance of the involvement of youth, women in this sustainable energy agenda. The panelists will include representatives from financial institutions, from the government, from the private sector, who will share financing opportunities for the youth, for women, for startups in the space of energy efficiency and sustainability. We look forward to enlightening and actionable conversations from our session here. Before I give opening remarks on behalf of the Manfred, allow me to invite Mr. Manfred Besmeyer to give opening remarks for this session. Mr. Manfred Basmaya serves as a sustainable energy specialist at the Austrian Development Agency, ADA, with extensive experience in international energy and climate projects. He has worked with organizations such as the German Corporation for International Cooperation, GIZ, contributing to energy audits, to energy management programs and smart grid projects in Nepal and Vietnam. His expertise also include renewable energy systems, energy efficiency, and climate mitigation and adaptation strategies. Mr. Manfred is a very experienced man. I'm still not yet done. Previously, he worked at the Energy and Climate Agency for Lower Austria, where he supported various sustainability initiatives. Mr. Manfred holds a master's degree in urban renewable energy systems from the University of Applied Sciences Technicum Vienna, where his thesis focused on decentralized control for photovoltaic systems. He's a certified expert, highlight that, certified expert in climate and renewable energy financing. We are going to talk about financing for the youth and women today. Energy auditing, energy management, and project management. Besides his professional activities, he enjoys hiking, climbing, and football. And I'm reliably informed that he supports Crystal Palace Football Club in England. So in footballing terms, he's my rival, but for now, he shall give opening remarks. Manfred?
Okay, good afternoon to all. Dear Miss Bridget Poppy-Jones, esteemed delegates, dear friends, particularly dear ladies. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to this important session on youth, gender, entrepreneurship in sustainable energy. I spoke to you on behalf of the Austrian Development Agency, the operational unit of the Austrian Development Corporation. The session highlights the power of sustainable energy in improving livelihoods and fostering economic development by empowering women and youth in the sector. The economic benefits of empowering women in the sector can trigger a spillover effect that benefits entire societies, reinforcing resilience and sustainable development. The interlink between SDG 7, the affordable and clean energy, and SDG 5, the gender equality, is undeniable. One of ADA's commitment is the empowerment of women and youth. We recognize that active participation is critical to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals at all levels. How we do that at ADA? We have an internal goal that 85% of all new initiatives have to contribute to the empowerment of women and youth. So, every project proposal we receive, we assess them thoroughly through our in-house gender experts and provide recommendations and feedback to the project developers. Even we request a deep dive in the gender analysis and recommend or add recommendations to our contribution agreements. And of course, we monitor and we evaluate the indicators related to the gender equality purpose. You could observe this approach during this fantastic Sustainable Energy Week here in Gaborone. Almost all projects funded by ADA and presented here during this week have a crucial component focusing on gender equality and empowering women in the sector. For example, GenSec and Sadc, but also all the other centers for renewable energy and energy efficiency, they have a dedicated component related to gender and women empowerment. Or the initiative Soul Trained. Yesterday afternoon, during the Soul Train conference, we had an inspiring discussion and presentations how Sadc and the centers incorporate the gender approach in their setting of the projects at all levels. And last but not least, recently we launched a new project called Energizing Women in the Sadc region. In this project, we try to combine all these components. There's a component on mentoring women in the sector so that young emerging energy experts, female energy experts, can get opportunity to link them with experienced one and get all the knowledge for their careers in the energy sector. Another component is capacity development, and as further, it's project development or business development in rural areas for women using productive use of energy. You can see it's highly important for ADA that we support women and youth in all levels of our project and in the project implementation. Let me stop here. No, let me add one thing. I want to motivate you to stay in this room because one of the panelists will be the project manager from this Energizing Women in the Sadc region project. So please remain and listen to her as well. Let me stop here. I wish us all inspiring and wonderful discussions and presentations. And yeah, thank you for your attention, and back to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Martin. Let's please give him another round of applause to appreciate him and to appreciate ADA. So from Martin's opening remarks, we picked out important talking points. One of the main things is the involvement of women, gender mainstreaming, youth incorporation in all projects that are funded by ADA. So I wish for other entities, they could take lessons from ADA in terms of doing these aspects of gender and youth mainstreaming. But now, let's shift on. But now let's shift on to the panel discussion. And for that, I'll introduce the moderator for this first panel discussion, which will be on initiatives towards promoting gender, youth, and entrepreneurship activities and education for energy transition. Our moderator for this session is Ms. Shamil Tumisang Agosi. She is the Managing Director at Square Gate Group, an environmental, social, and governance consulting firm. Her expertise includes green financing, sustainable community development, and Ms. Agosi also served as the Vice President of Environmental Social Governance at Premium Nickel Resources, Botswana. With a career distinguished by innovation and excellence, Shamil's multifaceted, she's everywhere, multifaceted expertise positions her at this moment as a valuable asset towards advancing sustainability. She will now lead a conversation together with her panelists on how we can promote gender, youth, and entrepreneurship for a just and sustainable energy transition. Ms. Shamil, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. And let's clap once again for the session chair. as he introduced, don't be surprised if we actually take more than 25 minutes, because he did mention that I'm everywhere. So I'm quite honored to be moderating this session that is literally going to be looking at initiatives towards promoting gender, youth, and entrepreneurship activities in the energy transition. Ladies and gentlemen, as the world is pivoting towards more sustainable future, the inclusion of youth, women, and entrepreneurs is not only a moral imperative, but it is actually an economic necessity. The energy transition, it presents a very unique and powerful opportunity for us to be able to reshape industries, to empower our communities, and to foster innovation while at it. But we won't be able to realize this transformation if we do not approach it from an inclusive standpoint. Today, we're going to be delving into how targeted initiatives in education and entrepreneurship can actually be used to unlock the full potential of young people and women as drivers of the green economy, ensuring that no one is left behind. To explore the practical solutions to inspire action for the now generation, I would like to call to the stage my incredible panelists who are going to be helping me to unpack this conversation. And in that regard, I would like to first off call to the stage Ms. Karen Gibson, who is the Gender Core Team at Soul Train Plus Project. Ms. Karen is, as I mentioned, she's the chairperson of the Solar Industries Association of Botswana. She is also the director of Soul Solar Ltd consultancy. She holds an engineering, she holds a mechanical, she's an electrical engineer with over 10 years experience in the solar sector, and she sits on various committees to that regard. I will let her actually do justice to her profile once everybody else has come. Second to the panel, I'm gonna be calling Ms. Linda Museki, a woman of first, who is the president of the Southern Africa Federation of Engineering Organization. And ladies and gentlemen, you must clap for these women. Ms. Linda, she's actually the first woman to be the president of this of SAFEO, both in Botswana and also in Southern Africa. So that is an accolade that is quite, quite commendable. And she will get to tell us about SAFEO, which essentially has about 11 member countries, including Botswana Institution of Engineering. Third to the panel, I'm going to be introducing Mr. Hyacinth, who is the Sustainable Energy Policy Officer. We've seen him making several returns to the stage today. Ladies and gentlemen, clap for him. Mr. Elayo is the Sustainable Energy Policy Officer at ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, and she is based in Cabo Verde. I think he has introduced himself earlier, so I will try to just move on to the next person. Apologies have been sent from Ms. Eunice, so when you see her not joining us, please note that. I would like to now call to the stage Ms. Nandini Venkata, who is the Communications Officer for Global Women's Network for Energy Transition, GWNet. Nandini holds an MSc in Socio-Ecological Economics and Policy from Vienna University of Economics and Business, and she has over 8 years of international work experience in media and with government organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, this is us basically kickstarting our conversation. Allow me just to have my own seat as well. Perfect. Clap for us, are you not? Yeah, thank you so much. And as I've mentioned, I do have an incredible panel here that is going to help me unpack the initiatives that are currently underway as far as empowering women and youth is concerned towards the energy transition. And my first engagement, I'm going to ask the panelists, starting with you, Karen, to essentially do a little bit of justice to your profile. Tell us more about Soul Train project as well as the work that you do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shamil. So, as you said, I'm Karen Gibson. I'm the chairperson of the Solar Industry Association. I'm also a project partner on the Soul Train team. So initially I got involved with Soul Train by doing the training, doing the first installation through my company in Botswana. And then I realized that maybe there wasn't enough of an uptake of the technologies, and there was some foundations that needed to be put in place. So I started working very closely with the Solar Industry Association, and then I joined the Soul Train team in Soul Train 3 as a project partner, as an industry partner in Botswana. And at that time, we also had some technical training to encourage women to join, and we realized that there was challenges in retaining women. So as part of the next phase, it was really important to me to also include a work stream that was aligned with attracting more women and youth to the program, and finding out why maybe we were losing women in technical positions, or they were not staying very long, what the barriers were for women. And so we incorporated this into the next project phase, or Soul Train Plus, and this was also part of that. And so in both hats, under the Solar Association and under Soul Train, I started to advocate a lot more. And through that, I've also then become the chairperson from the secretary of the association, and now taking the lead.
Wow. And this is the story of identifying gaps and filling those gaps towards inclusion. I think it's such an incredible story of Soul Train, and I'm more excited to actually see some of the initiatives that you will be talking to today. Now off to Linda. Please, if you could go ahead and share with us in terms of the activities that SAFEO is currently working on, as well as finalizing your introduction.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Let me just take this opportunity to thank the organizers for inviting us to contribute in today's session. As she has already mentioned, I am from the Southern Africa Federation of Engineering Organizations, so which is an acronym, SAFEO. And this SAFEO is an international non-profit organization that has the interests of engineering organizations. Most of them are in the region, they're from the Sadc region. So it means our members they're basically based on those flags that you see. I was actually delighted on Monday when I saw ministers from our region, and I was even informing my colleagues from the different countries where they're based, that no, we are really represented. I must thank the organizers for this. Let's just appreciate. Thank you. And then now, what is SAFEO? SAFEO, like I mentioned, has the interest of the engineering fraternity. And we all know that engineering has always been male-dominated, predominated, but now, as you can see, I'm at the helm of the organization. And this shows that SAFEO also advocates for empowerment of youth and women. Now with my, yes, thank you.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, this subject is very close to my heart because I've been advocating for youth, young members, and the women in engineering. So I believe that I'll share with you some nuggets on what we do to empower them, to ensure that they're included. But what I can say firstly is that we've got various committees. That includes the one on energy. We have the one on climate reduction management. We have others like capacity building. We have engineering, education, water, and food nexus, and others, transportation. And one way of ensuring that we empower our youth and women is to ensure that each and every committee has got a young member or a woman, but mostly a young member, because these are our future leaders. And women have got a special, they also have a committee on women in engineering. So that's where we start off, by making sure that they're also part of the leadership. So what I'm going to encourage in today's session is that please, our young members, our future leaders, I plead with you to affiliate with associations, because for you to prosper or to be successful in those initiatives that you are doing, you need to be aligned with an association, so that, because when we are many, when we work as a team, we can go far together. So that is
Absolutely.
why I'm emphasizing the need for you to be part of this. And I've already indicated that we've got engineering institutions in Sadc. Those who may not be coming from Sadc, we also have, because Safeyo I forgot to mention, that is also one of the regional bodies of the continental body called Federation of Africa Engineering Organization. So which means we've got the similar body in the Eastern Africa, and we have one in West Africa, North and Central. So those who may not be coming from our region, please note that we do have engineering organizations back in your countries, and ensure that when you get back, you locate them and you become part of us.
Thank you so much, Linda. I cannot wait for you to basically unpack what Safeyo has in store for the young engineers, as you have basically put it. Now off to you, Mr. Elayo. If you could just briefly take us through your journey as far as youth and gender entrepreneurship in sustainable energy is concerned.
Okay, thank you very much. It's great to be back here again on the podium. I bring greetings from ECRI once again. The ECOWAS Center for Renewable Energy Efficiency. Obviously, we have had a lot of activities, interventions that are targeted towards women and youth, and I'm really honored to be on the podium with, in the midst of really strong and accomplished women on the platform. For some reason, I'm the only guy on this platform, so I'll need support from the guys in the. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to run through quickly what we've done, a few things we've done at ECOWAS. Youth empowerment and capacity building. We've organized several training events, workshops, initiatives to build the capacity of young people, equipping them with the skills required necessary for the RE sector. Gender inclusion in the energy sector is also critical for us. We developed the EcoGen, the ECOWAS policy on gender mainstreaming in energy access. I think we were the second region after the EU to have developed such a policy. We have developed action plans as well across the 15 member states, and basically aims to ensure that we have greater women representation and participation in the energy sector and space. We also worked with them to develop targeted programs, access to finance, with support from the African Development Bank. We did a specific project that was targeted at women-led businesses. I think we had about a couple of interesting projects were submitted, and they were helped to refine them, and there were about 5 really outstanding projects that received grants. I think about $1 million were shared, and those businesses today are thriving and employing women. So that's one example I think was really a successful model, which I think also should be replicated and scaled up. In our regional forums as well, we have also something similar to what you have. We have the Sadc Energy Week. Ours is called the ECOWAS Sustainable Energy Forum. We have also have a component where youths are also encouraged to participate and showcase their products and services. But I think what's also very important is that we have to really invest, as my sister rightly noted, we have to invest in the education of the youths. The youths, as we say, are the future of Africa, but it's important that they have the requisite skills, capacity to actually be of value and support Africa's development. And in that vein, access to vocational training, because most times we see our young people super educated, they've graduated from university, they're unemployed, they are unable to get a job. And I think we have to really rethink the ideology of education. We have to now train our young people not to be job seekers, but to train them to be entrepreneurs, to be innovators, to create businesses, to create wealth. And I think that should be the way that we should begin to refocus the mentality of our young people. Luckily, I'm no longer a young person, so I will leave that challenge to the next generation. But please, the drive that we see has to be harnessed, and the knowledge and skills that are required must be relevant to our society, must be relevant to Africa's development, otherwise it's not workable. So we have had strong collaborations with universities. We have a network of universities that we work with across the region. We impact vocational skills, certification. They're able to install solar systems. They're able to be actively engaged in the energy revolution that's happening across Africa. And one thing I will say is that we don't want our youths to be observers. We want them to actively participate in the energy space and what is happening across the continent.
Yeah,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Yeah, quite exciting work that ECOWAS have done in terms of gender mainstreaming and the empowerment of women in the energy space. I'll be very interested to see some of the benchmarks that we could do in the Southern Africa to ensure that we reach the levels of empowerment that you've managed to achieve. And another important element that you mentioned there is education mobility for our young people to be job ready and knowing that the skill sets and the learning that they come with is actually fit for the now jobs. I think this is very, very exciting. And now over to you, Nandini, to basically talk about GWNet, with regards to the current work that you've been doing on gender empowerment and youth entrepreneurship in the energy space. Yeah.
Sure, thank you, Shamil. So I work for an NGO called GWNet. That stands for the Global Women's Network for the Energy Transition. And we were founded in 2017 by women who had worked for decades in the energy transition in very different sectors. But they all had this very similar experience that it was actually a rather lonely space for women in energy. It was hard to progress, and they also saw that a lot of women would end up dropping out, maybe especially after having children. So these women decided to come together and create a network where they would share resources, training, information, and just a community where you could find a mentor. You wouldn't feel so lonely. So fast forward to today, we have over 1,000 mentors as part of our platform. We have a member base of close to 5,000 women energy professionals from all over the world. If you're not familiar with GWNet, it's actually free to become a member of our network. You just have to go to our website and sign up. And as was mentioned today, something very exciting that we're working on is a new project that we have launched in the Sadc region. It's called Energizing Women to Energize the Energy Transition. And I'm very, very excited about this. The project will run until 2028. As part of it, there will be 3 cohorts of a mentoring program with the capacity to mentor a total of close to 200 women across the Sadc region. We believe mentoring is really important because it helps so much if you have a supervisor who has gone down a similar path to you, and you can reach out and get support and advice from someone who knows exactly the challenges that you are facing in your professional or in your personal life. There will also be an online knowledge transfer series as part of this mentoring program, and I should also stress that it's completely online, so that's why we can have women from all across the Sadc region take part in this program. This new project, to energize Sadc women in energy, also has a very intensive capacity building program for energy, women energy entrepreneurs. It will be an intensive program for 3 cohorts of each having the availability for 15 participants. And in case anyone in the audience is interested to apply or knows of someone who would be great to apply, we're looking for women energy entrepreneurs who already have a very solid business plan, or maybe they already have an established business, but they just need some coaching, maybe some support on how to find an investor, take their business to the next level and scale up. And I think something that was also mentioned here is the importance of awareness and changing mindsets. So for example, today, during the lunch break, I had a lovely conversation with a young woman who is studying mechanical engineering. And one question she asked me, she said, "Oh, you work in energy, but you dress quite formal and quite feminine." And I thought that if women in energy, they must, all dress masculine, and you're not allowed to dress this way if you want to work in energy. And I think that's why in this project it's really important that we're actually having a communications campaign to bust some myths and also break some biases that an engineer can look like anyone. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. Women can be engineers, all sorts of different women. So this communications campaign will focus on 2 main target audiences. One are teenage girls around the ages of 13 who are at school and they are making the decision of what they should be studying next, and they're making future career plans already at that age. As has been well documented, a lot of young women are just simply overlooked when it comes to STEM subjects. So we are going to make an active effort to encourage them that they really should be able to see themselves in an area such as energy, and they really can thrive in this area. And then the next target audience of the communications campaign will be women who are in energy, and we'll be encouraging them to lean in and sharing resources for them to take their careers to the next level. Okay, so I think I really pushed through.
You really did. I'm so glad, because you're also mentioning like really, really important, things there, such as your mentorship, which is quite critical, in this space. The past 5 years, I've been in mining, and I cannot recall how many times I've heard people basically judging me on the basis of my looks and saying, "Oh no, are you sure you can be in a mine site?" Like that type of situation. And I love that this campaign is also focusing on, undoing some of that, those perceptions to say anybody and anyone, small or big, can actually become an engineer. So very, very important work there that you're doing at GWNet. And to you, Ms. Karen, if we could just talk about, the implementing structure of the GND, as well as, discuss its effectiveness as far as, scaling it and replication in the Southern Africa.
Thanks, Jamil. Yes, so this project is really exciting. So I spoke about the inception earlier and how the idea came about, but then actually designing the project and implementing the project is the really exciting part. So we realized that in the first year, we needed to do a situational analysis to really understand the barriers that women face in the 5 countries that we have the project. So if you're not familiar with the Soul Train project, it's a renewable heating and cooling project based in Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Lesotho, and Zimbabwe. And it focuses on renewable heating and cooling with energy efficiency, additionally to that, like heat pumps and things. So it offers capacity building, a demonstration grant fund, capacity building in the technical aspect that you can then access this demonstration fund to actually demonstrate the renewable heating and cooling technologies, and also offers bursaries to master's students. There's also a wide range of public awareness. So the way that we had designed the actual implementation of the gender and diversity work package is to bring in a team which is like an understudy team. So we have project partners in these 5 countries that implement the main part of the project. And then we have these gender managers that are kind of like understudies to the project partners, and they are in charge of implementing the gender and diversity aspects of the project, so including a wider network of women. And we also have the next stage, which are multipliers, and within that, the gender managers work closely with their project partners, but then they also reach out to various networks. So multipliers are strategic partners, like associations, for instance, like GWNet and Safeo. I think we will be doing work together in future as well. So they're strategic partners that have access to women that maybe don't know about the technical opportunities that are available in the project. So they bring in that opportunity to tap into that network. And we have been implementing it now. So the first phase was understanding what the barriers are. Some of the main barriers were capacity building, mentorship, mindset change, like we said, and then addressing some of these barriers. So then we had a needs assessment and implementation plan, and all of this is done with our gender managers that are 80% women and 80% youth, to have these discussions on how we're going to effectively implement or bring in women to be able to utilize these opportunities. And so we have monthly meetup sessions that we discuss some of the barriers on. We encourage women women, men, youth, everyone to join these online sessions to have the discussions of how we can do that. We also then have opportunities for the women to join the technical training. And then we also have all of the opportunities that are open to these gender managers or the type of understudies. So they essentially build skills to become project partners in the future or project leaders in the future. They can join in public speaking. They can join in access to the bursary funding, for instance, if they're doing their masters. And I really feel like this has been an effective model. We're only in our 2nd year now, and we had a target of 158 women to be technically trained in the program, and we've exceeded it already. And in the 1st year of implementation, but over the 2-year period, we've reached 192 women already. And we are then having this ongoing discussion to really unpack further what the other challenges are, and then designing as we go some of the responses and how we can deal with that. So we also realized that maybe a peer-to-peer mentorship would work really well, and like cross-country exchange between project partners and building the skills of the gender managers as well, encouraging them to go to conferences. And I really believe this model could work in a number of situations, to give those opportunities to women and youth to actually say, you need to do it now. Like, step up, it's your turn to present. I don't know if you came to the gender event yesterday. There were 2 of our gender managers presenting, and actually one of our beneficiaries as well, presenting on the work that they've been doing. And also one of our multipliers, I think she presented on the quality with the testing facility as well. So it's really having this impact to reach more women. And we are designing a monitoring and evaluation to really understand what it's doing, but the results that we're getting so far is that it's working, and it's really upskilling. So
Yeah, incredible work. Do you want to clap hands for Soul Train? Absolutely. And Linda, if you can just take us through, the work that you've been doing in terms of promoting gender diversity within the engineering space. But also, if you could just quickly tie it up to the challenges facing SMMEs in the, in the engineering sector. I note that we only have less than 6 minutes to actually wrap up before I could give to the floor. So if we could keep our answers, short. Thank you.
Thank you. What I would like us to note is that even myself, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
What we need is to sign the deals. We need to sign the deals. So we've
I like
had,
that.
I'm not going to discuss mentorship, whatever. All we need is to ensure that the organizations that are ready should just come forward, and then we sign the deals and we implement. Because our youth are even worse, because they want to know what's in it for us, what they need. If we're in business, you also want some profit to make. So that's number one. And then number two is industry, academia, participation. Would like to see a project or even training program whereby our colleagues from the industry would come up with a program and say, as industry players, let us work together. Let's have this training together. So that's what we need, because really to talk about policies, it won't help us. Then the other one is, we do know that, like in Botswana, we do have legislation that is there, for affirmative action, but it's not being enforced. So what we need is to ensure enforcement and monitoring, and have stats whereby every year you can say, no, this time I have so many numbers of youth who are now employed. And then coming to job creation, we do appreciate that not only in Botswana, even in other countries within the region, there's high employment rate, especially among the youth, but we have projects going on. So we are, as an association or as an engineering organization, we are saying, government, you have work with the municipalities, we have work in the government, yet we have our children, we have our graduates who are there. So let us second them. Let's make sure that they do the job shadowing to ensure that we capacitate them. From there, they can either be on their own like ourselves, some of us, or they can join the government. So in a nutshell, that's what I think we should discuss. Thank you.
Yeah, very incredible work there. Thank you. Please go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. So to you, Mr. Elayo, I would like for you to just briefly touch on, the harmonization of policies to ensure quality assurance in the RE sector for, in the ECOWAS region. But before you actually take that, I would like to just throw this to my audience for you to prepare 3 questions. Soon after Mr. Elayo, I'm going to be taking 3 questions, and possibly if you could make them short so that we could maximize on this, this limited time that we have. Please go ahead, Mr. Elayo.
Okay, I'll make it short. Policy development and harmonization is something that ECRI and ECOWAS have an excellent track record, I would say. As I mentioned this morning, we've developed to date about 5 regional policies, path-breaking policies on renewable energy efficiency, gender mainstreaming, bioenergy, and the latest one is on green hydrogen. So we do have that convening power. We'll be able to mobilize the member states towards a specific vision that works well for the region. So in terms of regional policies, we have done that. We've supported the process of developing regional policies for all these subsectors, and we're able to facilitate cross-border technical projects that will facilitate investments in the sector. In addition to that, we provide technical assistance to member states and various stakeholders. By providing such assistance, we help them to draft and implement action plans and policies that are consistent and they complement the regional objective. And finally, we create regional platforms where member states come together. It's sort of like a peer-to-peer review. We come together annually, we assess where we are, where the member states are, who is making progress, who needs more support, and how we can help to encourage each other to get to a collective objective or destination that works for the region. But I would also like to just, I liked what my colleague Nandini said about the
briefly,
working with women businesses for startups and impact investors. I think that is critical. Also, the point that my sister also made was very important. We need practical avenues where we can actually make these things happen. There are projects, as Riley said. At ECRI, we have a fantastic internship program where we try to keep young people to stay back to work. But obviously, that's only a drop in the system. We need to create avenues where industry can also absorb some of these really solid young graduates and see how they can be retained in the workforce and the like. But I would say access to finance, impact investors, supporting women and youths with innovation, startups, access to finance, innovation, linking them up with matchmaking with, so to say, senior partners in the space will help to drive and really make this issue something that we can address effectively.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Very important, access to finance and, investment readiness. So 3 questions on the floor. I'm not seeing any hand. Okay, my sister I see you first, and then, you'll be number 2. Okay. Very brief, please. You can start, the lady on green. Sorry for calling you like that. Yes. Okay. So just your name, the organization, and straight to the question.
Okay, my name is Sandy Swakai. I'm from the company called AET Africa. My question, in fact, let me start by applauding the work that's done by the panelists. We really appreciate. But mine is directed to Ms. Karen and Nandini. With all the work that you've done in terms of mentoring and coaching, what kind of alumni support you provide to the youth and women? Because we know that the majority of women in energy or in business, they've got a challenge in terms of market access. What kind of support do you provide after these programs when they leave the program? Because that's where the coordination and critical support is needed.
Perfect. Before you answer that, let's just take the second question.
My name is Flora Saboni. I am from Planet Protector magazine. My question is directed to Ms. Karen from Soul Train. I want to know about your training that you just talked about. Who attends this training? Is it ladies from Gaborone, or do you also have rural women coming to attend this training? And after the training, do you make follow-up monitoring and evaluation of what they end up doing? Do they end up setting up their own businesses? Where do they end after the training? Thank you.
Perfect. Let me take the last question. Last question, please. Going once, going twice. Yes, lady at the back. Yes, you.
Is this working? Hi. Hi, everyone. Valentina Guido from RMI, Rocky Mountain Institute. Thank you so much for these perspectives. I think my question is around male allyship and what we would like that to look like, ideally. I would love to hear some reflection from the panelists. Thank you.
Perfect. Please, I'm going to give you an opportunity to basically take that, starting with you, and then with you, Karen, and then I think another question was addressed to you, Nandi, and and then we can take the last one. Please try to tie it as well with your last recommendations. Yeah.
So I might need a little help in reminding on the first question. It was to do with retaining.
Yes, yes. It was.
So I think as an association in Botswana, we're also teaming up with other organizations and also encouraging women to join the association to facilitate with follow-up. And then I think the second question was quite similar, but also do we follow up with what happens to the women, what do we offer afterwards? I think we're working on this monitoring and evaluation as well as a project. So the way that it was introduced was because of a need from us and an understanding that something needed to be done. And so we're all engineers trying to figure out how this works for us and how we can also bring in other people and support them. So it's always quite transitional with the project and adaptable and bringing in new ideas, and we have these conversations and also reaching rural areas. So we've recently had a meetup where we've discussed the possibilities of how we would do that and whether we could bring it into the project, and maybe that's the next discussion for the core team on how we would actually be able to do that and achieve that. But if you need our contacts or a little bit more information about the project, there's also a poster at the back of the room. You can scan the QR code and you'll get the contacts of all of the gender managers there, and also a little bit more background about the situational analysis. And then we also have a website that you can look at for a bit more information too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And over to you, Nantini.
Hi, that's a great question. So first of all, I should point out that the mentoring programs, they are actually 1 year long. So I think this time duration is important, because if you have just a very short program, maybe there's not enough support for the participant to reflect on what they really need from their mentor, what they're gaining out of the program. So there can be, a steep learning curve during this time. And what we found actually is, of course, it's very beneficial to pair someone one-to-one with a mentor, and we look at specifically when the mentee applies for the program, what they need help with and what type of mentor they want, what area of energy they're working in. But something else that is really important is that they are doing this process in a cohort of 50 to 100 women. And I think you mentioned this, Karen, this peer-to-peer mentorship is also really important. Then being in this close-knit community of 50 people who are going through the same thing can really help you so much in your career. You now have this network full of resources. So if you run into problems, challenges, you already have this support base. So I would also really, really stress that.
Thank you so much. And Say Elayo, if you could just wrap up in terms of summary, your key highlights for this session.
Okay, thank you. It's been quite interesting. I've also learned a lot from the women here. I think my final thoughts will be like, let's implement concrete actions on the ground. So much has been said here, and I would like for us to follow up on those initiatives, sign up to the websites, log on, get in touch with agencies, institutions that are ready to support youth and women in the space. For ECOWAS, what we've done is to collapse our funding structure into the ERIF, and there's a window that is catered for gender and innovation. So that's what we're trying to do in West Africa. And I think having such a fund that provides practical support to develop business plans, refine projects, and also provides access to concessional financing is a way that we can provide practical support to the youths and women who are involved in the energy space. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Linda, so please, your final thoughts quite briefly.
Thank you so much. I would like to mention that Safeyo is working closely with Sadc in finalizing the MRA, which is the Mutual Recognition Agreement. This will enable movement of professionals, practitioners from one country to another. So I'm just giving our youth and women here some hope that once our Council of Ministers sign that, you will be able to move from one country to another and also participate in this AFCTA initiative. I'm also glad to hear from my colleagues. I'm already aware of Soltrain, which is doing a good work. And I've heard from others. My summary here is, my take home is, we do have agencies who are ready to support, and they all what they need is bankable projects. And I would like to indicate to you that we have pool of members, both both male and females, and we will be ready to work with you. Anywhere we have a database in the Southern Africa region, and we can even go across Africa. Thank you.
Perfect. Let's clap hands for our panel. And ladies and gentlemen, in closing, it's very apparent. Initiatives are there, let's take advantage of them. And over to you, Chair. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shamil and your panelists. I think now we'll pose for a group picture. And of course, the chairman will be in the middle.
No, certainly. Thank you very much, Emil. Thank you very much, Kaho. You guys have had a very fruitful engagement as part of our panel this afternoon, focusing on youth, gender, and entrepreneurship within the sustainable energy space. I think the discussion was quite direct. I heard one line, let the deals be signed, sign the deals. The mentorships, the programs are great, but let the deals be signed. I think that was a very key takeaway from that session. Our moderator, Kaho, will be continuing to announce the incoming session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, sir. Let the deals be signed. Remember, I said I have a front row seat. I have my pen. So I'll be ready to sign the deal. I'm still a youth. So for our next panel discussion, I'll be inviting Mr. Martin Lukmeyer. He's been here. Even this morning, he's been introduced. I'll just try to sum it up and introduce him briefly. And this panel follows up from the discussion that we just had on initiatives towards promoting gender. Now we need to pay for those initiatives, right? We need to finance those initiatives. So Mr. Martin Lukmeyer is an industrial development expert in the Sustainable and Just Energy Transition Unit of the United Nations Industrial Development Organizations, that is UNIDO. He spearheads the global network of regional sustainable energy centers, GenSec, program and manages a global portfolio of sustainable energy projects. Before joining UNIDO in 2010, he was responsible for the energy program at ADA and worked on international energy and development issues with the Austrian Federal Ministry of European and International Affairs. Mr. Martin holds a master's degree in renewable energy technologies from Vienna University of Technology. He also holds a Master of Arts in Political Science from the University of Innsbruck. Please, a round of applause for Martin as he introduces his panel.
Yeah, thanks a lot for, I'm back here in front. It's a pleasure to speak now about financial issues regarding gender, youth, entrepreneurship. And I will not speak now much about it because I think we have many panelists basically here. And I think time is quite short, but maybe I would like to highlight maybe some of the topics. I mean, here in the conference, we speak about a just energy transition. And when I see the topic which was chosen for this session now, it's about entrepreneurship, it's gender, youth, and it's finance. These are 4 topics which also stand alone. And all those 4 topics are necessary for a just energy transition. Entrepreneurship. So if we a just energy transition must create green jobs and revenues within developing countries in the global south. I said that already in the morning. So this is a very important aspect. Countries in the global south need a fair share of the value chains of clean tech manufacturing and servicing. So we're speaking here not just about, I know the conference is about energy, but we're speaking about clean tech, which is a very broad range of spectra of technology. It's environmental technologies, it's waste, it's circular economy, it's water, it's sanitation, and energy for sure is an enabler and a cross-cutting issue in all of those issues. So it's very central. But it needs to create revenues and jobs. I repeat that again. So to some extent, we need a globalization of the just energy transition. What I mean with that, we need a global market to accelerate the market uptake for clean energy solutions, products and services. But at the same time, we need a localization. We need ensure that the benefit stays also within the countries. And how we ensure that? That means that we need a sound layer of local companies, entrepreneurs, like we heard already in the previous session. We need that entrepreneurs. And with that, maybe I come also to the second aspect, gender and youth. So gender, we want usually, women are very often the beneficiaries of energy projects, clean cooking, women don't need to go so far to collect the wood. If you switch to more efficient stoves, if you get lighting, solar lighting into rural areas, then you have a lot of benefits regarding also security issues, which are sometimes there, benefits for education. So there are a lot of cross-linkages of clean energy solutions with other SDGs, basically. And women are beneficiaries out of that. And also the youth is a beneficiary out of that. But on the other hand, women need to be part of the value chains again of the clean energy transition. That means they need to participate in programs, in science, in educational programs related to technical issues. And they need a special attention when doing projects. I think Manfred, for example, referred to it. So also international donor community needs to take attention that programs are really taking care of the youth and the aspect of gender in programs. Also, we in UNIDO, we are putting a lot of emphasis on that. So all our projects are usually gender mainstreamed, and we are also leading on the United Nations level, the energy and gender compact. Also, I'm working with the global network of regional sustainable energy centers. So within our team in Vienna, I think we are 50–60% women, also on the technical level. So we keep also within our GenSec team, basically that ratio. Yes, and now we come to the tricky one, to the finance. So if we want to have entrepreneurship, we want a fair share of the benefits of clean tech within the countries, and we want to have youth and gender engaged, we need really financing in place, which targets all those issues in a good way. And basically, we very often work with entrepreneurs, and we ask them what they need. The answer is like I think the representative from the association said, now let's seal the deal. But very often there's no financing. Because now also on the financing angle, we have a particular challenge. So we have project finance, right? Supporting a bigger project, clean energy projects. And there's an established procedure. There are budget lines for that in banks, usually. Although it's also difficult to get this finance for project finance for clean energy projects in developing countries. But then for corporate finance, for businesses, startups, very difficult to get affordable finance. We're speaking very often about that local banks are offering interest rates of 10–16%. I mean, which business could be viable in Austria or Europe somewhere with an interest rate of 16%, my dear? So how we should advance that? So how we should advance entrepreneurship and how we should advance women entrepreneurship and youth entrepreneurship with such interest rates. So in our view, there's still a shortage of such financing instruments on national level, regional level, and also on the level of international banks level. And we need these tailored programs to particularly support entrepreneurs. And in Europe, in the US, you have a very well-established venture capital community, you have the business angels, all those things are there, but they are not in the developing countries, no? You have innovative financing instruments like green bonds and other things which invest in those considered risky projects, but that is very often not available in developing countries, and particularly not in Africa. And I think this here is also something important to address on regional level, as we work a lot with the global network of regional sustainable energy centers on regional level, to come up with tailored financing streams for entrepreneurs. And sometimes this is not necessarily banks' business. Sometimes many of those things can be done also by other organizations. So with that, I will just stop here. I just wanted to briefly tap on these aspects, but now we turn to our excellent panelists. I will call them one by one to the stage. First of all, we have, and the nice thing is, when I looked, the organizers have set up a very nice panel, because the panel is of all the main players of the ecosystem are there, public, private, policy, and on the other hand, we have the private sector, the entrepreneurs. So all players of the ecosystem are here, so I'm curious to see how they connect this to finance. So first we have Kiesha Farnum. She is the head of partnerships and programs from the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency. And she is a sustainable development champion for more than 20 years and has designed and implemented many inclusive projects. So welcome. Secondly, we have Mrs. Jane Nakasamu, CEO from Greenbelt Energy Limited from Zambia. And she is an award-winning innovator for low-emission smart biogas stoves and has pioneered clean tech in Zambia. Welcome. So you're representing the private sector, the youth and gender in one. Excellent. Then we have Mrs. Kavita Ray. She's Senior Program Officer for Energy Access of ARENA. Welcome. And she is a renewable energy professional, well known for more than 30 years, and has way too long. Has a lot of experience in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and small island developing states. So welcome. So you're representing more. We have Kiesha representing more the public side, let's say, from regional level, and we have your side more from the international level, an international organization. Then we have Mr. Wolfgang Gruber-Glatzl, Soltrain project leader. I think you know him. He's the leader of the Soltrain projects, very successful projects over many years. He has a lot of experience in solar thermal heating and cooling. Welcome that you're here. And you're representing, this is the ecosystem here. See the ecosystem? So you're representing now basically the science, which is needed to get spin-off of entrepreneurs to the market. Then we have Mrs. Dunya Solani, Head of Information, Knowledge Management, Local Enterprise Authority of Botswana. So works a lot on SME development. In this role, she oversees the collection and management of research and information to support SMEs development mandate, and she has over 20 years of experience with that. And I suppose you're representing more the public side of helping SMEs and entrepreneurs to be successful here in Botswana. So basically, I think we have, now somebody is missing, I think still, Mrs. Sandiswa Kwai, founder RET Africa, South Africa, yes. Also representing the private sector here. And then we have still Mr. Gosata Kakri, Head Vehicle Asset Finance from Stanbic Bank Botswana. So basically, you're, I think, one of the most players here in the ecosystem. So all want to connect with you, all those. And because we need finance, basically. So we are looking forward to hear from you how you create opportunities to promote entrepreneurship innovation in the clean energy space. So basically, with that, we go, maybe we start with the first question, and we go immediately to Kiesha. Maybe I go now down. Looks a bit odd with them staying here. And does it work? Yeah.
I think it's working. Go ahead.
So, Kiesha, so you're working for the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, which is an official agency of CARICOM, no? So you're part of you're representing the energy space, but you're part of that private sector development space also of CARICOM. So we would like to know from your side a bit what SICRI is doing to create an enabling environment for local entrepreneurs, particularly women and youth, within the Caribbean sustainable energy space, and also how you try to connect maybe young entrepreneurs to finance.
I would like to add, in terms of this being an incredibly well-rounded panel, it is also a gender equitable panel. So this is really nice. So with SICRI, I think I want to take a quick step back before I talk about some of our interventions, because the situation of the Caribbean is quite different when it comes to gender and youth. So just to quickly scene set, when you look at what the university graduates in the Caribbean, the numbers, the figures usually tend to show across all campuses of the University of the West Indies that women are outnumbering men. So you have like a 60-40 split, with 40% being men and 60% or more being women. But then when you look down at the other level, you realize that in STEM, you still have more men than women within that space. And then if you take another step in that level and you look at the workforce, women who would have most likely done STEM are less likely to be in managerial positions, they're less likely to be on boards, they're less likely to hold positions of influence or power within the energy sector. And so addressing that, what seems to be a disparity, or which seems to be like young men are not performing as well as young women, you do have to take a step back when you look at the energy sector and say, okay, but is that actually the case? And then you layer on top of that mentorship programs, etc. And I feel like a lot of the times, gender mentorship programs are preaching to the choir, right? So you have women mentoring women, which I think is incredibly important. However, I think what we've missed is the role of men in allyship, right? The role of men in allyship. We have, for the last 2 generations, told our women that they can be anything that they want to be. But we have not prepared our men for a world in which women are everything that they could be. And so how do males within the sector also provide that mentorship? When you have gender sessions at all of these big conferences, when I look out into the audience, it's usually women, and it's usually a side session. Very rarely the gender session is on the main stage. It's in one of the breakout sessions. And so taking all of those things into consideration, at SICRI, as we started to look at our programs and how we form our programs, we are part of a number of initiatives that we're working with partners. So for example, there is the WIRE initiative, which is the Women in Renewable Energy. And we've co-hosted, breakfast sessions at the CREF, which is the Caribbean Renewable Energy Forum. But that is also part of a wider, larger framework. And we invite males into those sessions because we want you to understand what the challenges are that we're facing. And we want you to understand that we want to be along with you on this journey. We want you to also provide mentorship that doesn't come with sexual harassment. And we want to be working side by side with you. And so that's I think what's been different with the WIRE, the Women in Renewable Energy Forum that we participate in. And that also has the back end of it where there is training, there's workshops, and that kind of thing as well. We've also done a lot of public education work, so there's podcasts. We collaborate with the Caribbean, the CARICOM community as well in terms of supporting women in renewable energy, so the WISE program, and there's an award that goes with that. And then quickly segue into the finance side of things now. What we realize is that we have a lot of incredibly talented and intelligent individuals in the Caribbean who are innovative, they are, they want to have their own business, etc. They're highly technically trained, but they're not business people. And that's usual. When you go to school to be a scientist, you're not going to school to be a business person. And so how do you develop your project and your business in a way that you can attract finance? And that has been the gap that we're seeing. So how do we work with those individuals, youth and women, to build that skill of project development for investment, which is completely different from project development for grant financing. And so we have a relationship with the public sector financing system who have constantly told us, listen, we have the money, but the projects are not ready. When people come to us for financing, the projects are not ready. And so it's really building that skill, taking a step back and building that skill of how do I develop my project? How do I develop my business plan? How do I work out my return on investment, my business strategy, my marketing strategy, et cetera, so that I can actually go forward and access financing.
Thank you very much. And I know that the situation also regarding gender in islands is a very special one, so it's somehow also different maybe than in other countries. And I would also like to mention that Barbados, for example, where you're situated, we have very much innovative young women also. I personally worked there through a project where we established a Bloom Cleantech cluster. And it was amazing to see what's going on there and how many ideas they have. I would maybe say some examples. I mean, you have the leading electric mobility company, basically, in the, I think, upon all islands, no? And it's a women CEO.
It is.
You have exactly sargassum projects. You have different young entrepreneurs. One is a woman, Ram and Sargassum, for example, working on using seaweed for transforming into transport fuels, alternative transport fuels, or also men innovators transforming it into fertilizers, so more circular economy project. So amazing work you're doing in the Caribbean. Thank you very much. So we come now to the private sector, right? Jane, I come now to your question. So how has Greenbelt Energy Limited overcome financial barriers in the renewable energy sector, particularly youth-led startup?
Okay. Thank you so much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Jane Nakasamu, and I'm the founder of Greenbelt Energy Limited, a startup in Zambia. I'm also a consultant at Kafue Gorge Regional Training Center. So Greenbelt Energy is a youth-led, women-led startup that turns waste into biogas for cooking and organic fertilizer. And initially, this idea came about when me and some of my university colleagues were addressing challenges in the country, mainly energy, and we're trying to come up with innovative ways of dealing with it. And I stumbled upon biogas, which wasn't very common at the moment. And I got really interested and basically just started researching on it. A few years later, we came together and registered the company, and that's how Greenbelt Energy came into existence. So I think as the panels, even the previous one have rightly put it, financing is one of the major barriers. And I love what has been said by the previous speaker that, when you go to the banks and these commercial institutions, they usually want your project to be bankable. I think that's one of the catchphrases, the bankability. But to actually get a project to be bankable, you need investment, actually. A project doesn't just become bankable overnight. So one of the main things that supported us as a startup was that we got a lot of capacity building support. I'll give an example of one of the institutions in Zambia that has been very close to my heart. That's the Women's Entrepreneurship Access Center. And they focus on supporting young women who are running businesses to really, come up with
bankable businesses, really. And it's a long process, but they have been, firstly, a hand holder to just get us from an idea, just having an idea of, oh, what if I could do this? And then taking you through, testing it on the market. That's very important as well, because working in the energy space, working in the clean tech space, usually these ideas are niche, and sometimes you have a good idea, but the market is not ready. Sometimes, the market is ready, but there's no idea. So that mismatch is one of the other issues. So capacity building has been one way. And another second way has been basically connecting with different industry players who can provide other elements that can support, not necessarily financial, but also just providing technical support. We've gotten technical experts to be part of our team to, set up prototypes, to set up, first market studies and all that, and also engaging with our ministry. I'm glad that our Ministry of Energy is very, very supportive, and they've been a key stakeholder as well to just provide us that information and provide us the networks to be able to scale up and at least have a product that can be sold. And coming out of another catchphrase I've heard at the conference is grantpreneur, which is basically a startup who goes from grant to grant. Yeah, to come out of that cycle of just, being dependent on grants to actually have a product that's on the market that people can buy. And even though to get to that, stage of where you're now very profitable also takes a lot of time, but at least to be able to sustain a good element of the operations has come through that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for these insights. So we come now to Kavita. So how is ARENA working to address challenges faced by youth entrepreneurship? I know also that you worked with some of our regional centers on entrepreneurship facilities. It would be great to hear.
Thank you very much, Martin. Thank you very much. I see so many still actively listening to us. At ARENA, we have quite a large program around youth in general, so not really youth and entrepreneurship. We have a very active youth council. Each year I hear we have about 55 to 60,000 applicants for 30 seats. And it's amazing in a world of doom and gloom, when you meet these young youths, how passionate they are, a little bit worried about the future. We're glad at ARENA, we get them regularly every year during our General Assembly in January. We have them, they are very active, they moderate panels, high-level panels. So we're growing them. In some of our initiatives, like the Empowering Lives and Livelihoods initiative, Martin, you talked about, the energy transition is not just about energy. We're also looking at the nexus of renewables with agriculture and with health, and especially in the agriculture sector, we are really trying to focus on the youth, because many of the youth in many of the countries that we are working in are moving away, for better job opportunities elsewhere. And so this is an initiative where we hope to also push the governments to think a little bit more about how the youth can be integrated within larger programs, how they can get a better job opportunities, and we're trying to bring that entrepreneurship angle. Of course, we worked very closely with Sadc around the entrepreneurship support facility. There has been about 150 entrepreneurs being trained, male, and I think about 50% are female. One of the initiatives that we started at ARENA is an initiative called the New Gen Renewable Energy Accelerator, really looking at youth startups and those who are still at the early stage. And we work with Social Alpha, an institution in India that supports startups, and the NL Foundation. And we've we've got about 2 cohorts, 23 and 24, about 36 entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, and we bring them together every once. There are trainings, there are provided mentorship by Social Alpha and NL Foundation. And we're really hoping that we will be able to expand this program further, because personally, I think for those of you who know me, I am very entrepreneurship and job skilling, job building, capacity building. These are very close to my heart. So we are expecting to hopefully to grow this program. I will be quite truthful here. IRENA is not an implementing organization. We're not a funding organization. And we do reach out to a lot of financing institutions, funding organizations. I think members of the panel will be along with me. It's very, very difficult to find the funds to carry out programs. And if you were to really, support an enterprise and take them along the way on a longer journey, it takes a lot of time for them to come together, but then it's also a lot of funds. Like last year, I myself was in Namibia. We had like 15, 20, some of the brightest, enterprises in the Sadc region. And many of them wrote to me if they would be able to come here, and my heart was sad because we couldn't bring them here, So there's a lot that we could do. I just hope if there are donors here, to support IRENA and to support any other initiative, SACRI, to continue supporting that. Because I think sometimes, there's this negative connotation about grantpreneurs, right? But I don't blame them because, I've talked to a lot of them, even now, over WhatsApp, or sometimes we have calls. The challenges they have is so high. The interest rates are so high. How would they move to being, a micro entrepreneur to a mid-sized entrepreneur? That's very challenging for any youth. So I kind of hear them, and at IRENA, we are starting to see how can we do things differently, but also for us, because of course, we have a larger member, we have 170 members. So hopefully, we will keep pushing our member countries to support or have more youth programs. So hopefully this will be coming in the near future. I've just joined IRENA for a year, so yeah, watch this space.
Thank you very much for telling us what IRENA does on entrepreneurship. Wolfgang. So Wolfgang, what you have done in Soltrain, basically, what is your experience in integrating women within the work of Soltrain, and how successful you were in basically creating women companies in the solar thermal sector? And maybe I would also have a second question, because we are here in the ecosystem, and you basically, your institution is located in one of the most successful clean tech clusters. So basically you have your own clean tech cluster organization which links on a daily basis all players of the ecosystem, including the finance, and works on joint projects and tries systematically to bring young people from the university, which is close by, into the shared service space of the cluster, and then helping to commercialize those projects. So these both questions I would have to you.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. I think you explained the clean tech cluster already now, what is being done there. Yeah, the clean tech cluster in Graz, close to our home city where we are based, is basically a collaboration of all different kind of companies that work in the clean tech sphere. They collaborate both on an academia level, where people are trained so they can work in these companies, and then also the companies collaborate with each other in engaging on different levels on research. Our region is the second, like our region in Austria spends the second highest amount in percentage of the GDP on research. So that's a very strong argument for us that with innovations we can still maybe counter some drawbacks we have in our industrial sphere with, for example, high energy prices. So we have to do innovation in order to compete with our competitors worldwide. Yeah. So that's maybe one aspect, and I think that would be also a role model to set up here. The first question was about gender in Soltrain, and I think we've had the previous panel and also yesterday very good examples of women that are actually doing the work on the ground, or rather, should I say, on the roof in terms of Soltrain. So we have women that install solar systems. We have in Namibia a CEO that is running a solar company. Last year's at the Soltrain conference at Windhoek, we've visited together with kind of this community national housing program with 70 collectors that has been installed by this woman and her employees. We've heard today in Botswana of other entrepreneurs that have success in this sphere. So I think we have already, because we have started from 2009, and this was always a strong element to encourage women to just take part of it. Yeah? And I think it's also a sign that I think I think 4 or 5 project partners from Soul Trends are led by women. So it's also, we have a strong team that is, on all levels with strong support from women. Karen has mentioned that we've trained in the last 2 years 192 women, and I've taken note the question from, I think it was you as a question, and that we should also, follow up on them, ask what have they learned from this? Yeah, I mean, it's the same for men, but also especially for women. What did they learn from the training? What are the next steps? Do they miss still something, so we can always monitor and react still in our program going ahead? Yeah.
Thank you very much for your explanations. So we come now to Dynna. So what your organization is doing, I understand you're having a youth business elevator challenge. So how you address with this challenge basically the financing needs of young entrepreneurs here in Botswana?
Good afternoon and thank you very much. My name is Diana Solani. I work for the Local Enterprise Authority. This is a government parastatal that has been mandated with SMME and entrepreneurship development. We do offer a full suite of business development services, except financing. We do not finance, but we train, we incubate, we mentor, we coach, we assist with putting together a business plan. The Youth Business Elevator Challenge that you are asking about was a once-off project that was funded by the African Development Bank under a program called the Africa Growth Platform, whose objective was to create jobs and employment opportunities for youth. I'm emphasizing the once-off project here because I know we may be having potential partners to replicate that program here. So I'm emphasizing it being a once-off. This program, we had 1 million pula available for uptake as prize money, and this was to be won by 10 youth entrepreneurs to use in their businesses. We started off with plus or minus 700 applicants that we took through the business plan training. The difference of this program with other programs that may have been done elsewhere is that we started off with capacity building. Before the competition could even start, anyone who wanted to participate, they had to go through the capacity building program, which was to improve their business planning skills. We also took them through master classes where we exposed them to the ecosystem players and industry experts in different sectors of the economy. That somehow improved their pitching. We ended up awarding the 10 prize winners, and I'm happy to say out of those 10 prize winners, 6 of them were women. The top 3, we had 2 women being on top. I also have to say this was inclusive because the training that I talked about wasn't held in Gaborone. We went to all the locations. We trained in 10 locations, and we do have some of those prize winners coming from the rural areas. We had winners coming from as far as Ganzi, Serowe, Pikwe, and Gaborone. Of course, it had other winners, but we were happy with the inclusivity of the program. What we have also put into this program, we have put a requirement that post-funding, these prize winners need to be Lear clients for a period of 2 years. because we understand that part of the business failures, especially the first 5 years in any business, what we call the valley of death. 70% of businesses don't get out of that valley of death. You have the 30% that exit that valley. 10 years later, you would only be having half. So we put in a requirement to say, we are going to be hand-holding you for 2 years. So these prize winners, we are facilitating them to expand their winnings, and we will be with them for the 2 years. And annually, we will be doing an impact assessment to see if there is any progress. As we speak, the assessment will be coming up in June. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. So with that, we come now to Sandiswa, also an entrepreneur. Could you please share with us your experience, your challenges to get access to finance in your work?
Thank you very much. My name is Sadc. I'm from a company called AET Africa. We are based in South Africa. The company is focusing on clean tech innovations, especially in energy efficiency for water heating, where we provide retrofit solutions. I started the company in 2012 with my partners, and personally, I will say, yes, we had our own initial funding, which assisted us to get to a prototype phase, because our innovation, as I said, it's a retrofit, so it was targeting water heaters. But we needed funding in order for us to prove the concept and be able to even patent our technology and get it to market. So we were privileged because we didn't struggle to secure the initial funding. And then we also came across the UNIDO program, which is the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, that assists innovators in the clean tech space in terms of developing their innovation, as well as promote entrepreneurship through a business model validation, which assists businesses or innovators to get to the level where they can commercialize their businesses. So we started in that program in 2016, and through the business model validation process that we went through, we even managed to graduate from the program, which was a 6-month accelerator program. We got a business plan, but I must emphasize, as much as you always talk about business plan as the gateway for you to secure funding, but that business model validation is very key, because without any market access or proof that there is a market for your product, that business plan won't take you far. So for us, we were privileged because after that, we were approached by funding institutions which were interested in our technology, and then that assisted us to commercialize our technology. And the model that we chose for our commercialization was to run our own manufacturing, because the market, as much as we had interested partners, but we still needed to have a manufacturing partner. But that route was not a smooth process that as we initially thought. So we ran our own manufacturing, sold the product, until a stage where now we needed to scale. And for us to get like bigger offtake agreements and be able to distribute the product at a bigger scale, we couldn't get some of the certificates that we needed. And again, I need to emphasize that through, again, the support from GSEP, or the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, the dedicated support in terms of the post-alumni, because after the accelerator, they don't just throw you out in the deep end. There's several programs, and we participated in several events where we kept on highlighting these challenges. And through that, now I can say even today, as much as we had to go back and revise our business model now to say there is no way that we can continue with the manufacturing because of the certification, but now we are in the process of licensing our technology now to bigger manufacturers. And again, that's where that business model validation is very important, because if you don't keep on testing your business model, you will continue until you get to the stage where my previous panelist said, that value of death, because that continuous testing of your business model is very critical, because the market dynamics are changing every day, and there are new technologies or innovation that comes up. So that's what assisted us. But again, I must emphasize, to secure funding in the clean tech space is still not easy. And that's why I ended up now even becoming part of the Global Advisory Board for the GSEP program, because through our lessons and the challenges as well in terms of raising finance, we had to come up now, become like a strategic advisor to the UNIDO team in terms of how then they can repackage the program to make sure that SMMEs or startups within the program can be able to secure market access, get the finance, and be able to further develop the technologies. And right now, again, GSEP is also focusing 40% in terms of gender mainstreaming, because again, as much as you've got success stories in terms of clean tech companies getting funding, but women are still at the back end. So that's our journey, and in terms of the successes and challenges that we've experienced within the clean tech space, especially within the retrofit of the energy efficiency.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you very much also for flagging a UNIDO program. So the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program is a program which is funded by the Global Environment Facility. It's implemented in a number of countries and is currently expanding also in Africa. So if countries are here who are interested to have an acceleration program within the scope of their countries, you can, I think, talk to the colleague. She can share basically some feedback about the program, or you can also get in touch with me and my colleagues, and we can provide you with further information about the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program. But now we're coming to the elephant in the room, and that is the finance. So you heard a lot of complaints and then problems and challenges to ex-finance. So we're looking forward to hear your perspective as a bank.
There's probably a reason why you put me last, hey? Well, thank you for having me, Martin, and it's been a very informative panel that we're in. I represent Stanbic Bank. It's a bank that's been operating in Botswana since 1992, and I think we are now part of the tapestry of this economy as much as any other bank. We pride ourselves with being probably the third largest bank in the country, but that depends on the matrix we use. We usually want to edge ourselves higher. With respect to youth and gender support, I think we've started this conversation a long time ago as a bank. How do we support the youth, and how do we support gender-based projects? And a lot of it came out of realizing the gaps that we saw in the market, the bankability part of projects that are coming from that, from youth, that are coming from women-centered projects. And I think it was key, firstly, before we even went into sustainability, to say, what can we do as a bank? What can we invest to make sure that we create something that is bankable towards what we think bankability is? And I'm proud to say currently there's a structure called the Accelerate that is currently operating, which is an incubator fully funded by Stanbic Bank and open to all the youth of Gaborone, unfortunately for now. But anyone who needs access to that environment can actually come through to that environment. It's fully equipped with banking staff. There's mentorship that is coming out of that program. There's coaching that we're doing there. There's a lot of networking that is happening because there's a lot of youth coming in and out. There's free infrastructure, be your Wi-Fi, be your facilities. So you can literally run your business from the incubator as a youth member, right? And sometimes we smile a bit because a lot of youth programs or a lot of youth adverts that we see flying on social media usually have that emblematic shield that we pride ourselves with at Stanbic Bank at the back. And you can tell that this young person really utilized our Accelerate. I think further to investing capital in building the Accelerate, we also needed to see how can we build partnerships. There's what we can do as a bank. There's a limit to what we can do as a bank. But there are organizations across the panel here who know the sector better than us, who know youth development better than us, who know women development better than us. Then how do we go into the market and find people aligned with our purpose, who are keen on driving Africa's growth, who are keen on driving Botswana's growth? And a few examples that came out of those conversations were the Botswana SEEP program, where out of that huge program, we isolated 5 million pula as a grant for women and people with different abilities, and also the youth. We had the Tokafala partnership, which also put a 1 million pula grant in forward for the youth. And I think we also sponsored some youth events which were 100,000 to the networking summit. But then moving on to sustainability, we then said, but we're leaving out a key part here, sustainability. How do we now foster sustainability? And the first question we had to answer was, can we do it? Do we have the right framework in place? And again, we went back and saw partnerships as an important player in that space. We can have the credit parameters, but can the youth come through? Can women come through and enjoy those parameters? So that's when we now went into the market, and I think we will be announcing a few partnerships coming up with the Solar Industries Botswana and GIZ that are mainly based on bringing scale to what we've set as a framework and to the work that they have done as organizations on the ground, and build that pipeline, sign those deals, get something that is bankable, get the technical expertise from the GIZ team, get the industry expertise from the Solar Industries Botswana, and find those bankable deals that we can close on. I think, yeah, but finally, what we would want to see going forward, yes, is scalability. We talk about a Million Pula Debswana partnership here, we talk about Debswana here. What we really aim to see going forward is how then best can we scale these projects? How then best can we build that scale around the value chains? And one project that comes close to my heart is when we managed to finance a women-led agricultural project in Africa, in Botswana, where they were putting together an irrigation system, a solar irrigation system. We looked at the deal, and based on the structures that we had, it was a tough deal to put through. But we went into the region, we went into Africa, and we found a guarantee program that made that deal more affordable, that made that deal more palatable. Can we do more deals in that respect? Can we reach out to guarantee programs across the continent, which also subsidizes the risk, or manages the risk, or shares the risk with us, and see how we can consolidate those projects into more scalable projects for women and for the youth? I'll pause there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So basically, I think the challenge is we are nearly out of time, but we have one question. So, anybody in the audience has a question to our ecosystem?
And you will be in luck, because you'll be the very last person to ask the question at this forum.
I see here, yeah, behind, in the white.
Make it count.
Thank you so much. The nice part is I am a youth. My name is Brighton Sox, also known as Mr. Awesome. Mine are mostly comments rather than most of a question, right? The first one is, I love our first panelist when she said, let's not also forget the boy child, because we're now also growing in an environment where the boy child is told, through especially like things like social media and the likes, right? For you to be able to make it out there in front of your friends, to also get a girlfriend, sorry to put it like that, right? You have to have made it in life, you have to have been working in a nice job, 1, 2, 3. But then we also have sisters within our own sisters, where you're trying to tell my sister to say, look, you do not need a man to do 1, 2, 3 for you. But then they also still look for a man to do the same thing. I love that people are already smiling, they already understand where I'm going, right? And then the second one is, as much as youth, when we're coming to look for opportunities, I love it from a CEO's point of view or a director's point of view when they tell us to say, no, this is what we're trying to do. This is, yes, we love when we're partnering with youth and women, right? But then when we go down the value chain, the same moment when I now come to your office and I say, look, I am a youth, this is an idea that I would have wanted to implement because you are saying we can do 1, 2, 3. Then those people down the value chain, they would start telling you, well, no, you need to have experience of 10 years, you need to have done this 1, 2, 3. And it's a reality, things that are genuinely happening. But when I come to you, to a CEO or to a director, they'll tell me, I love the idea, come pitch it, here's my email. And then they direct me to the right person who is supposed to help me get to the right space. But then at the end of the day, what my point is, also let the guys down the value chain also know to say, we are pushing youth, we are also pushing women, we are also pushing the boy child. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for these comments. I think you emphasized basically the feedback we got also from the entrepreneurs, which challenges they face to get their projects through. But do we have a question here? Here, see? Yeah?
Am I audible? Hi, my name is Bakang, and my question is towards Ms. Keisha and Mr. Khosata. In the context of sustainability, it's important to understand that climate change is a real threat to businesses, especially small businesses and startups. Now, Ms. Keisha, with your experience with coming from an area that experiences extensive adverse weather conditions, what is it that you do in terms of ensuring that businesses, small businesses and startups can recover post-exposure to such adverse weather events? And are there nuggets that you can share with us here in Botswana, because we've recently experienced, if for most of us, I think we know, terrible floods. And for Mr. Khosata, are there, with your financing strategy, can you support small businesses in terms of ensuring that they can make it post such events? Because we know moving forward that climate change is probably going to get worse before it gets better. So what is it that you can do? And if at all, do you have any approaches and strategies that you do employ? Can you share that with us, just so that we all can appreciate what your overall stance is in ensuring that small businesses, which are usually quite vulnerable, can be sustainable and withstand such occasions? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. That's a really great question that I think we're going to have to talk about offline in detail. It's a little bit of a soapbox of mine, but I will lean into what my colleague from the banking sector has said in terms of partnerships. And I think a really great example from our region is the collaboration between GGI and another organization that I used to work with called the Caribbean Accelerator. And what they did is that they used philanthropy, which is grant financing, as well as grant financing from the UAE, to build resilience in small businesses. And that resilience would look like, how do I make sure that I, in the case of a climatic event, that I have data storage? How do I make sure that I can keep the lights on in terms of energy? How do I make sure that my water, my sanitation, etc., around my business, that all of that is insulated against a climatic event? And how do I get back up and running as quickly as possible in terms of post a climatic event? But what that program also did was help small businesses to then access private sector financing. So many of them may not have been in the position, as he mentioned before, there's only so much a private bank can do. They have their own regulatory system, etc. And at the end of the day, they're still a lending institution. So you have to meet a certain criteria. And so using philanthropy, grant financing to build businesses up to the point where they can now access private sector financing is a really good way of having both private sector and public sector work together in order to build small leaseholder entrepreneurs.
Thanks, Keisha. That's a very good question too. I'll allude to that. I think our first biggest test that we experienced in my lifetime in terms of stress was COVID. COVID was a big stress for a lot of businesses, not just SMEs, but across businesses. And I think I'm pretty proud of how we responded, not just the Stanbic Bank, but as the banking industry across. What I can advise an SME at that stage is, it is not an issue of a collective stress. It's a discipline of communicating how your business is performing and how your business is operating to your banker. The moment we start a lending relationship, we both have blood in the game. We both have flesh in the game. So it's as much my responsibility to make that lending relationship sustainable as in it is yours. So the more information you give me, the better I can look internally and see how best I can use my systems to support you. If at all we're talking about moratoriums, let's come. It's a difficult conversation. It has to be supported with numbers, but it's a conversation banks can have. If it is all an issue of linking you to networks within the bank, within our clients, let's find a way of building networks with the other ecosystems that we have as customers and see if we can uplift you in some way. If it's partnerships, let's go ahead. Let's do partnerships. I was speaking about de-risking with a guarantee fund. If at all we can do that to support your side of the land, to support your lending, and then make it more efficient for you and more comfortable for you in your business operations, let's have a conversation. What we should not see banks as is the logos or the buildings that we're in. They're human beings who are qualified, who've experienced such traumas or experienced such incidents through different businesses and different industries. There's a lot of intellectual capital sitting in banks waiting to assist SMEs. So let's engage our bankers, let's engage our branches, let's engage our banks and find ways and be honest with our businesses and find ways to solution best for the businesses that we operate. We're in it with you. Without you, we basically don't run. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we need to close. Usually, I think we could discuss this issue forever because it's a very important one. So I would like to thank the panelists for the nice conversation, the nice dialogue. And yes, I think we're moving now towards the closure of the conference, right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, dear panel. As Martin just highlighted, it's because it's such a practical conversation, definitely worth carrying forward. Kaho, would you like to close?
Yes, thank you very much, Mudir. So now we are going to have a group picture with Martin's panel. And of course, I'm going to also use my chairmanship to sit next to Kari with the hope that he will accelerate my loan application. Thank you.
No, you certainly. So, dear panel, you are invited to stand for the group picture. I trust Kaho is there closing deals as he should. So thank you so much, Kaho. You've been a great moderator, and both your sessions have been quite punchy, quite insightful, and I really like the questions that came from the floor. So ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I'm going to ask that you go and grab yourself a little refreshment, take your break for 10 minutes. I'm saying 10 minutes so that we can all come back here. This room should be refilled as the other session is also closing, so that we can then all congregate here at 4:30, at 16:30, 4:30, to come and officially close the conference. Okay? 10 minutes, grab your coffee, grab your water. All right.
Yes, just one last thing. Please indulge me in this exercise. If you've learned something, you have a takeaway towards how to promote gender equity, how to promote entrepreneurship, how to promote youth entrepreneurship, please just show by raising your hand. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not seeing some hands. So as a lecturer, normally when we prepare an exam, we prepare supplementary at the same time. So we'll be having the 2025 Sadc Energy Week as a supplementary for those who didn't learn. Thank you.